no proven link to cancer. And that may or may not be true. There's enough of a link here that what I'm suggesting is that we stop installing it, don't make the potential problem any worse, and use alternatives. There are alternatives. You'll hear about that from some of my expert witnesses. I'm not going to get to that, but Montgomery County, Maryland, stopped doing artificial crumb rubber turf and gone to organic materials. Washington, D.C. has a artificial turf task force. While that task force is doing their work, they've stopped installing new crumb rubber fields. What I'm asking us to do in Virginia is to continue to study this, have the Department of Health look at ongoing studies that are really targeted at links between crumb rubber and cancer. Because the studies that you'll hear about from the industry are about safety, they're about things like abrasions, about physical contact injuries and things like that. They're not all about whether there's a link to cancer or not. So that is that's the bill in a nutshell. We stop causing any further harm, potential harm, move to safer alternatives, let the Department of Health look at the studies that are going on. California's got a very comprehensive study that's really targeted this issue of artificial turf. Does it raise levels of toxic materials in children's blood that would lead to cancer? We have a couple more years before that study can come back because it takes time to get that right. By then, the end of this moratorium, we'll know whether we're dealing with something that's truly dangerous or not.
Questions from the subcommittee? Delegate Lamani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anything that prevents a local school division from just not choosing this material and then choosing something else? In other words, do we need to step in and help them make that choice, or are they able to make this on their own?
So I think that we need to, Mr. Chairman, my response to that would be that there's no law that requires them to use crumb rubber now, but I think this is of a magnitude that the state needs to step in and get the word out to every locality and every local school board that this is a dangerous material and this is policy of the Commonwealth that we got to take a break from using it.
Other questions? Hearing none. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the bill? Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Dam. I'm with the Safe and Healthy Playing Fields Coalition from Fairfax County. I'm here with a couple of colleagues, Amy Steffen and Glenn Schoblam, who is a risk assessment professional with experience, used to work at EPA and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. I can actually follow up on that question. I was here before you a year ago and calling for a similar moratorium. And I support House Bill 495, and a lot has happened in this last year. It's a very fluid set of facts and circumstances. But on that last question, I went to Fairfax County, who has approximately 80 of these fields in place already, and put forward, a lot of the information. We have a toxicologist with Cornell and Harvard credentials explaining why. He predicted this would cause cancer in 2007. He's the author of a very famous report sponsored by EHHI and Yale, and why he explained why the goalies, players who play on one particular type of surface, tire rubber, and also one particular position, goalie, are showing up with these environmental blood cancers. He told that to roughly 13 or 14, Delegate Simon was there, yet there's a sense that they're so in this already, they're kind of all in already. It's very difficult for them to kind of shift the boat in midstream. But what I would like to talk about very quickly, if I may, are four main things. One is the absolute need by this for this bill, but two, the alternatives, which Delegate Simon spoke of. And also, the other two things I'd like to talk about is that cancer certainly has not been ruled out by the studies. My background, I'm a lawyer, I'm a tax lawyer with the Treasury, I have a background in environmental law, and I've read all the studies, okay? And they certainly do not rule out cancer. They're inadequate, and they've done the best they can do. But my last point, just recently, EPA is now on record saying, given the new situation, given the new information about the goalies with cancer, current studies are inadequate to attest to the safety of this material. Okay, Consumer Product Safety Commission just last week backed Senator Blumenthal and Senator Nelson, who was calling for a federal investigation, because only the federal government can use its wealth of resources to look at something with this magnitude. And this magnitude is a compound. If I may can I give this to you to show? Can I pass this along to the commission? This is a sample.
You may pass it along quickly, but we are, you're on the clock and your time is
I'd like to pass this on quickly. Take a look at the white spoon, too. The white spoon has the fragments of the crumb rubber. It's dust, okay? In that material that you're holding, okay, is tire rubber, ground up tires, that's it. Recent Yale study found 96 different chemicals, 13 carcinogens. So, the industry is going to say, they're not going to argue that there are 13 carcinogens in there. What they'll say is, yeah, but it's not bioavailable. It's not, when the kids are eating it, getting it in their eyes, getting it in their nose, getting it in their mouth, getting it in their cuts, soaking it through their skin, don't worry about it. It's not going into their system. But they're called carcinogens for a reason. They cause cancer. 13 have been identified. There's no question about that. Industry folks will not debate that. They'll just say the extraction technique was too harsh. They took too much out of it. But look at that white spoon and look how small those fragments are. That is getting in our kids on a daily basis. Okay, we're going to look back at this and say, wow, this was recycling gone horribly wrong. But why? That's why this is desperately needed now by you. But what will the harm be of a moratorium? None, because there are alternatives. There are 3 that are readily used. One is a plant. So this is just about a material, not about banning turf fields or moratorium for fields. It's a moratorium on this tire chrome. And the alternatives are a plant-derived material made of corn husk, rice, and cork. Okay, you can eat that and feel very comfortable, right? The other one is called a TPE, which is a thermoplastic elastomer, which is 100% virgin polymer, right? No carcinogens in it. And the third one is an underlayment, a padded material that meets Gmax ratings for concussions, etc. So how do we know that communities and we can get by over the next 3 years of the moratorium? Because communities all around the country are making these moratoriums. So Montgomery County, Maryland, Montgomery's largest county, has banned. They didn't even do a moratorium.
I'm sorry.
They banned this.
Time is up. Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
For the patron, rubber is pretty common stuff. People wear gloves made out of rubber. They change tires made out of rubber. Do you know of any other application of this product that has proven to be problematic or to be likely to be causing cancer?
Well, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. It's not rubber. It's recycled tires. I mean, the fact is that there's a lot more than rubber in these things. It's not just, I don't have the list, but it's not just the rubber itself. It's all the other materials that go into making tires that are the source of carcinogens. I think that's right.
That's accurate. And what the industry will say is like, your yoga mats are made out of rubber. Well, that's somewhat of a distraction because I found one yoga mat made out of recycled tires. And yoga folks are generally very careful about what they use. Yoga uses natural rubber from the rubber plant. And they're very careful to use very natural rubbers. Recycled tires.
Okay, thank you. We've allowed 5 minutes on either side. You've used that up. If there's anyone else who wants to support the bill, you'd step up, identify yourself, and just tell us whether you support the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Amy Steffen. I'm part of the Safe and Healthy Playfields Coalition. I'm a researcher. I've worked with 3 toxicologists, 2 public health officials, a PhD. I'm going to spare you. We have 12 professionals who volunteered their time to assess the toxicity levels of tire chrome, specifically tire chrome, not rubber. We looked at the tires and
Ms.
how
Mayor, you in support of the bill?
Yes, sir. We
Thank you very
strongly
much.
support.
Anyone else?
My name is Glenn Schobel. I live up in Great Falls, Virginia. Our Citizens Association looked into this a few years ago, worked with the Lacrosse Association, and they found an acceptable alternative material. So it can be done. I've worked with risk analysis my whole career, and in my view, the risk assessments that have been done for this material are not adequate to determine its safety. We should support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the bill? Senator Potts, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I wish to speak in opposition to this bill on behalf of the synthetic turf industry. The fact of the matter is that not one single state in the United States has adopted such legislation. And most recently, the state of California overwhelmingly, with Senate Bill 47, rejected this measure. The states of Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Washington State rejected this type of legislation. Findings by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health could not find any link to cancer. The United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, as late as a report on December 18 of 2015, found no credence in these charges. And as I said, the California General Assembly overwhelmingly killed this legislation. This legislation would not only be a job killer, it would place incredible burdens on the school districts where we already have over 200 fields in Virginia. I've left with you this document on the health studies, and I know that you have a very busy calendar. But in closing, I'd like to say that the four largest governing bodies of sport in the world are the National Football League, the NCAA, the National High School Association, and the World Soccer Federation. Not one of those organizations have adopted such a measure.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Rob Shin, representing the Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries. I know you're hours late, and just very quickly, there have been more than 50 independent peer-reviewed studies done on this issue in the last 15 years, and all of them have come back and said the product is safe. Just a quick quote from the Federal Consumer Product Safety Commission. In their report, it concluded, quote, "Young people are not at risk from exposure to lead in these fields." I think a lot of this originated in like a Dateline NBC special that's run a couple of times, mostly based on anecdotes and not sound science. I think we support certainly going forward with even more studies, but to this point, there's been nothing to indicate harmful levels for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Claudia Arco with Fairfax County. We support the study that's included in this legislation, but not the moratorium. Our health department has looked at existing studies, and I think they feel comfortable with them. At this point, one of our concerns about this bill is that we have about 17 turf fields that would need to be replaced in the next 3 years, and this bill would prohibit them from being replaced. So it's unclear what would happen to those fields. They wouldn't potentially be able to be used, and they couldn't be replaced either. So thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Simon, last word.
The latest statement from the chairman of the Consumer Product Safety Commission says that this is unsettled and needs more study. Existing fields, they have machines that will come suck up all the crumb, and you can replace it with the organic compost. It's not like this field would sit there fallow. And I've got an elementary school that's losing kids because they just put crumb rubber on their field. Kids are literally leaving Westgate Elementary School. Parents are taking their kids out. They're that uncertain about the safety of this material.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the subcommittee?
Mr. Chairman, I should have a motion.
Rob.
I'd like to say I appreciate the delegates' efforts. I just, for one, don't feel comfortable restricting the use of a product when the scientific study data is pending. And for that reason, I move to lay it gently on the table.
I have a motion to lay the bill on the table. Is there a second? Moved and properly seconded to lay the bill on the table. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Bill is tabled.